Hey there, my name is Michael Cravens. This is another installment of Hunt to Eat's Community Kitchen. Got a whole bunch of bones here. This is from an elk and a mule deer I took this year. We're gonna take these and we're gonna make bone stock. So stick around and I'll show you how I do it. Now, first step here is to get our bones, set them out on some baking sheets. I like to cover them with foil to help with the cleanup. In this case, I'm trying to separate out my mule deer bones from my elk, not because I expect much of a difference in taste, just because I'm OCD. Remove a hair there. Now, I'm using olive oil in this instance, and it worked just fine, but we're gonna bake these at 400 degrees, and I'm not gonna lie, it got a little smoky. So you might want to do something with a higher smoke point, like grapeseed. The whole point in roasting these bones first is to give them a little caramelization and bring out a lot more flavor. So let's hurry up and run through these, and then we'll move on. All right, now we're going to salt and pepper these. I salt them pretty liberally, but mind you, this is the only time I'm going to add any salt at all. In the end product that I'm using to make various dishes, I want that control later on. So while I do a good job here, this is the only time I'm going to do it. Alright, after we're all salted up, let's set the temperature to 400 degrees and place them in the oven. Alright, now that our bones are roasting, I'm going to go ahead and start chopping up my vegetables for our mirepoix. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or even using it correctly in this scenario. But it's really just a fancy term for onions, celery, carrots, parsley, in this case garlic, because I put garlic in everything. And I'm not even going to use all this until the next day. I'm going to let my bones simmer for about 15 hours or so. Then I will go back and I will add my mirepoix, and I will let it go for just another 2 hours or so. Alright, let's go check on those bones. Looking and sounding delicious. Alright, now that we got those done, we're going to go ahead and fill up our stock pot. You might notice there was a lot more bones in there than when you first saw me stick them in the oven. I decided just to pile them all up and, on a couple different sheets and get this over with. Just the same, it worked great. Our bones are nice and brown and caramelized, and that's going to add a lot of flavor to our stock. We're going to fill this all the way to the top with bones, and then we're going to turn around. We're going to do the same thing with water. This is going to simmer for me all night, or maybe for you all day, which would probably be safer. But it's going to evaporate some, and it's going to give us room to add our mirepoix tomorrow. So yeah, don't be afraid to fill it all the way to the top. And once we get it filled all the way to the top, then we're going to move down and turn our burner on high. Get everything settled in. Place our lid on and bring it to a boil. Alright, we've brought our stock to a boil, and you'll notice a lot of this ickiness rises to the top after your initial boil. So we're going to go ahead and skim all of that off so it's nice and clean. Quite honestly, I'm not sure what this would do to the flavor, but I understand it's a good idea to remove this, and it certainly isn't pretty. So let's get rid of all that stuff. Alright, so it's the next day, for me anyway. For you, if you're a better planner than me, it might be noon. But as you can see, our stock, it is reduced quite a bit. I left those lids on just cracked. I left my stove on as low as I could get it. You can see I still got a bit more simmer there than I really wanted, and that might be attributed to why I always get a cloudy stock, but honestly, I don't know. But that's as low as I can get it. You want it barely simmering. Again, I left these on for about 15 hours. Now I'm going to add our vegetables. These are going to sweeten our stock up. In this case, obviously here I'm using parsley and some carrots, celery, onions, and finally our garlic. Oh, and I almost forgot, we need to add some bay leaves. I'm not doing any exact amounts on any of this stuff. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I'm also going to fill mine up back to the top with water. I know this is going to be a rich stock with all the knuckly, jointy bones I used in this, but you might not want to. Finally, let's get our lids put back on. Leave a little crack for some evaporation and keep things from getting too hot. And I'm going to simmer these another 2 to 2.5 hours. All right, let's have a look at my mule deer specific pot over here. And yeah, it looks amazing. It smells even better. I think we can go ahead and start sorting this out and straining it. All right, so step 1, remove all the big chunks. That's all those vegetables, all those big pieces of bone. This is probably the most labor intensive part of this whole process, and it takes a little while, so let's just hurry up and get through it. All right, we are getting done. So I always feel guilty throwing all this stuff out, but the truth is all the nutrition, all the flavor has been leached out and there's nothing left. This next part, I'm bringing in my beautiful wife. As you can see, it's a little bit of a train wreck, but we get it done with nobody getting hurt, so all is well. The first part here we are doing through just a regular sieve because we want to get all those big particles out and prepare for the next part, which we will be using cheesecloth for. Alright, here on our last step, we're going to use our cheesecloth, set it inside of our strainer over a nice clean container. I like to keep things mixed up as I move through this. It doesn't really make much sense on this step, but it makes it feel better. So, going to scoop this up, run it through our cheesecloth. Now, this is a process, just like everything else involved in making stock. So we'll speed this up and get through it. All right, so now I'm slowing down and showing you this because you are going to get a lot of particulate and sediment in your cheesecloth, and that's kind of a pain in the butt and it slows things down. It took me roughly 3 pieces of cheesecloth to get through this whole project, which is not a lot, but you know, once I get it in there and we're getting down to the bottom, I start just pulling it up the sides very carefully because you don't want to get any of that gunk in your nice clean stock. But yeah, pull it up the sides to where you have some clean. And of course you're going to want to be careful while you're doing this because as you can see here, I screwed up and almost dumped all that nasty sediment in my stock. Fortunately I caught it in time and we're okay. Just be careful. Alright, we've got our nice clean stock ready to be put up and saved for future projects. I'm using wide mouth quart jars. These are going in the freezer. I do not have a canner, nor do I know how just yet. But it's important to use a wide mouth because the smaller ones, you'll just end up with a bunch of broken jars in your freezer and a bunch of stock you have to throw away. And man, you don't want to throw this away after doing all that work. Of course, it is important to remember to leave some space at the top of your jar if you are going to freeze it. 1.5 inches, 2 inches maybe. I don't even have my lids on when I put them in the freezer. I just kind of set them on top and then go back and tighten them up later. Then, of course, last step, write down your contents and the date you've made it. This should last you a good long time because you'll have a lot of it. I also like to save a cup and just have a cup of it as a drink when I'm all done. So that's it. 2 full days of work, ton of dirty dishes, but I've got a ton of stock put away. I'm going to use this for all kinds of projects. I'm going to use it for tough critters like javelinas and jackrabbits, raisin shanks, soups, stews, gonna make some pho for the wife. It's even delicious all on its own. And yeah, I hope you learned something. If you got something to teach me or any comments, please let me know. Drop a comment below. I'm absolutely interested in hearing what you have to say, hearing better ways to do things, better ways I can do things. There's always a better way. So please drop a comment below. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.